If there's one thing I've learned for the past couple of years, it's that reviewing Pokemon games is not easy. Well, okay, Scarlet and Violet were easy because those games are trash, but it's hard to review a Pokemon game that you like because there's going to be problems. Like, we all know the Pokemon problems. They may not be problems that are specific to this game, but they are problems that loom over the entire franchise. You know, the lackluster animations, the less than perfect graphics, the lack of voice acting, which makes the cutscenes look very incomplete and awkward. You know, removal of quality of life features, stuff like that. You know, I acknowledge that these problems exist, but at the same time, Pokemon Legends ZA is so fun. If I ever reviewed Legends Arceus, I would have said the same thing. Yeah, there are obvious problems, you know, Pokemon problems, as people call them, but the game's really fun, so I find myself caring a bit less. I mean, the main reason I hated Scarlet and Violet, besides the fact that they didn't work, was that they weren't fun. It's just the same thing I've been doing since the 90s. And on top of it being kind of boring, it didn't work. You know, that was my main issue. Like I said, even if it ran perfectly fine, I still wouldn't like them. They just weren't designed very well. I mean, do they have good characters and story? Yeah, for a Pokemon game, but a good story and characters does not a good video game make. These are not movies. These are not books. These are not TV shows. These are video games. They need to play well. They need to be fun and engaging. And that's what the Legends series is to me. It's way more fun and engaging than the mainline stories or mainline entries because they are fresh. They're new. They work, you know? So, yeah, I'm just bringing this all up to say that I do acknowledge these flaws. They didn't go away, even though this is probably the best looking Pokemon game we've ever gotten, which is a low bar, I know. But it does look nice, you know, it looks fine. It does deserve to be a $70 Switch 2 game? No, but, you know, at least it works. After Scarlet and Violet, I'm just happy that it works. Again, shouldn't be this low of a bar, but here we are. So let's actually get into the game. So I started my game, and if you watch my previous videos, you know that I was having trouble deciding on a starter. And I was hoping that the Megas would sway my opinion, but all of the starters, Megas, are just kind of meh. You know, none of them stood out to me as being amazing or anything, so that didn't help. So in the end, I decided to go with Tepig, because I've never used Tepig. And whenever I play a new Pokemon game, I try to use Pokemon that I've never used before. Of course, this game had no new Pokemon, so I had to just try to pick Pokemon that I hadn't used before, which unfortunately isn't a lot in this game. Most of the Pokemon that did make it into this game, I've either used before, or I couldn't really use in this game because they were late game, or whatever. So let's talk about the new battle system. That's the big new thing. It's a real-time battle system. And I've played quite a few games which have real-time battle systems like this, and I will say Pokemon ZA is not the best, but it's not the worst. It works. For a first time, it's commendable, because I was really worried. You know, a lot of Game Freak's ideas are good on paper, but the execution is usually hit or miss. But I'd say this was a hit. This works pretty well. It's not perfect, but for the most part, it works. You know, you can run around, your Pokemon will follow you, you'll do the moves, they have cooldowns instead of PP, so that's interesting. And also, it's nice that some moves are actually useful now, like Focus Blast is actually useful now. Like, yeah, if you're playing a human character, they could probably dodge it pretty easily, like a lot of moves, but the computer will never dodge, so Focus Blast is actually a good move. You know, you can experiment with a few different moves because they do different things. You know, Stealth Rock is a trap kind of move, like if your opponent runs into it, then they get damaged and stuff. So, you know, there's a lot of different things you can do. Unfortunately, I feel like the only viable strategy is the same in the main game. Just hit hard and fast with super effective moves. That's kind of a Pokemon problem as well, not really a problem with this game specifically. Just Pokemon in general. It's just the best strategy is just hit hard and fast with super effective moves. Yeah, there are other strategies, but, you know, you can't really do them. You know, like, you can, but there's no point. It's like, you're not going to win, you know, as much unless you just hit hard and fast with super effective moves. And that's what the CPU basically does most of the time anyway, too. I will say, they made the CPUs a lot smarter in this game. Like, especially the major battles, like, the Pokemon's movesets are actually, like, good. Like, they actually will have type coverage. Like, you're facing an Electros. It's like, okay, in the main games, its ability Levitate made it so it had no weaknesses, but there's no abilities in this game. So it's weak to ground. Okay, use a ground type. Oh, wait, it has Liquidation. Okay, well, maybe I'll use a grass type. It's resistant to electric and water. Oh, wait, it has Flamethrower. It's just stuff like that. It's like you think you have the edge, and then your opponent brings out a coverage move that you may not have expected. So it's not quite the walk in the park that most Pokemon games are. I wouldn't call it insanely hard, but it at least made me think. It made me try, it kept me engaged. Most games, again, like Scarlet and Violet, I was really bored because they were really easy, and it was really easy to overlevel in that game. And it is easy to overlevel in this game too, but I feel like overleveling isn't as big of a problem because, as I said, the enemy movesets are actually, like, good. You can't just sleepwalk your way through it, so that's nice. What else? You can do some defensive maneuvers, like some moves, like Fly and Dig, will make you invincible for a short time. Unfortunately, though, it makes your moves very predictable, because it means your opponent will never do this, but if you're playing against a person or if the computer's fighting you, you can switch your Pokemon, which grants you a slight moment of invincibility, although your Pokemon has to do like their little intro animation, so they're a sitting duck for a few seconds. But, at least you dodge the attack. You can switch into resistance or something. So that's interesting. It's a little defensive move you can do. And I will say, though, this battle system works best in wide open spaces. Unfortunately, a lot of the game takes place at night in, like, those battle zones, and the amount of time one or both of the Pokemon got stuck on something like a bush or a lamppost or anything, really, even a little curb can stop them. It's really annoying. I don't think they really thought that through. Like, most of the major battles are in wide open areas, so I think they did know, because all the major battles are in wide open areas, but when you're doing, like, the normal battles at night, they can be really annoying, because they not only can inhibit your Pokemon's movement, especially if you're using an Alpha Pokemon. I swear, Alpha Pokemon are not good in this game, because they're so big. Not only are they big targets in battle, but they get caught up on way more things. Some doorways and stuff they can't even get through, so yeah, don't use Alpha Pokemon. There's a pro tip for you. I know this from experience. But I guess they're good, in the open spaces, I guess, a bit more. Although, like I said, they are bigger targets, so maybe not. But, yeah, I think this battle system is pretty fun, Although I will say, some status conditions are a little weird. Like, what does confusion do? Like, you can't hurt yourself in confusion in this game. It makes your Pokemon's movement a bit wonky, but the thing is, when you're actually telling them to do an attack, it never stops them from attacking or anything. It's only when you're moving around a lot, and in these enclosed spaces especially, it really doesn't mean anything. Oh, so that's another thing. Movement is kind of inhibited in these battles if you're battling, like, on the roof or in an alleyway. I'm sure you've seen the clips on Twitter, because I have, of people battling on the rooftop, and then one of the Pokemon just falls off the roof because they used a move that sends them forward, like take down or something like that. And so it's like, yeah, I don't think they thought of that. If I just feel like this game did not take advantage of, its setting. Well, I should say, it was not a good setting for this game. Like, a lot of people had issue with the whole game taking place in Lumio City, and yeah, I have to say it does kind of hurt this game a little bit. While it was a lot more fun than I thought exploring this city, it is not great in a lot of ways. Like, everything kind of looks the same. Legends Arceus was way more fun to explore the maps. There was different scenery and a lot more Pokemon, because one of the first big disappointments of this game for me was going to the first wild area and seeing how small it was. Like, people complained about Sword and Shield's wild area being small. These are microscopic compared to that. I'm pretty sure if you took all 20 of the wild areas in this game and put them into Sword and Shield, it'd be about the same size, maybe even smaller, I don't know. They're so freaking small and have only a handful of Pokemon in them. And for a game that's all about catching Pokemon, that's pretty disappointing. And the Pokedex is really small, too. I think it's even smaller than Legends Arceus. I mean, I know the DLC will come and that will add a lot more, but base game, yeah, not a huge selection of Pokemon, which may make replayability a bit, meh. Also, another thing that'll hurt replayability is you still cannot skip cutscenes. That's another Pokemon problem, not a specific problem to this game, just another Pokemon problem. And on the subject of Pokemon problems, they took away the linking cord and all the other easy ways to get trade evolutions from Legends Arceus. They took that away. Again, destroying a quality of life feature that they really didn't need to. And I know why they did this. It's to get you to pay for the online, because if you don't pay for the online, you simply are not completing the Pokedex. Because while you can get some trait evolutions in the wild, from what I've heard, not all of them. Some of them are exclusive to trading, which is a terrible in my opinion. Legends Arceus was so great because you could do everything yourself. You didn't need to pay for the online to get any content in that game. Here, that's not the case. Not only do you have to do that for trading, because that's the only way you can get trade evolutions besides the few in the wild, you can't get the Kalos starters megas without going online. I know they said they might make it available later in the future, but who knows how far into the future that will be. So, yeah, I don't think that was definitely a step backwards from Legends Arceus. Just the quality of life stuff. Also, another thing that Legends Arceus did that unfortunately did not carry over here is they got rid of the EV-IV system. You had the grit system, which I think was way better. It was way simpler, and they still had natures, but you didn't have to worry about, effort values and individual values as much. So, yeah, they took that away. We're back to the old system, which I don't like, and a lot of people don't like, because, I think they're trying to make this a bit more competitive because you can actually battle in this game. You couldn't battle in Legends Arceus, so now it's like, oh, well, if we're going to have battling, we have to have this old system, but I don't think you have to. This is clearly not going to be the competitive, game they play, in the competitive scene. That's going to be Pokemon Champions, according to the Pokemon Company. That's going to be the new game that they're going to run in competitive. I don't know why they did that, but whatever. Let's see what else. Character customization's back. It's a lot better than what it was in Scarlet and Violet, that's for sure. A lot of people are having fun with that. I didn't really do too much. I changed my look from the default because I got tired of looking at that. But I don't know, maybe just me, my sense of fashion. A lot of the outfits I wasn't huge on. But I did change it up a little bit, whatever. As far as the Pokemon I used, I love how the trade Heracross you get at the beginning was going viral. Everybody's saying how amazing it is. And yeah, it is amazing. It wasn't the best for my team because I already had a fighting type in Emboar. But I still used it because I love Heracross. And I've always wanted to use Mega Heracross because that thing is a beast. I'll tell you what. And you don't need to take my word for it. Everyone online is saying it. And also, I got to say, I did, like I said, I chose Tepig. And that means I got Emboar. And I think Emboar is underrated and definitely overhated. Like, yes, it's definitely not the best of the firefighting starters, but since Infernape and Blaziken are not in this game, at least not right now, it's the only option you have for a firefighting type, and I think it's pretty good. Yeah, as far as the team I used, I did swap out my Pokemon a little bit. I think the only one that stayed on my team the entire time was my starter, and I was just kind of swapping out things, trying to see what works. Sometimes I would catch something stronger, and I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I had some of the typical things that I thought I would use, for a small time. I had a Gyarados on my team, because it always finds its way on my team somehow. Gardevoir, of course, and stuff like that. But I did try out a few new Pokemon that I had never really tried out before, like Victory Bell. It got a Mega, and Victory Bell is amazing, I gotta say. Like, Mega Victory Bell, and just Victory Bell in general in this game is amazing. Because it has Giga Drain and Leech Life, which keeps it alive a lot longer than most Pokemon, And, there's a lot of fairy types in this game, so having a poison or steel type is very good. I did use an Excadrill a bit. That was really good. And it got a Mega, too. And that thing is a beast. So, that was fun. Let's see, what else? Any other interesting things I used? I used the Heracross. Anything else interesting did I use? I think those are the highlights, basically. I just remember that so much. Mega Victory Bell, Mega Excadrill, my starter, which Mega Emboar. Just like I said, I swapped out a couple different things, just mixing up a little. I did the same thing in Legends Arceus. I didn't have like a consistent team throughout the entire thing because it just wasn't anything new really to use. There were new Megas. Oh yeah, I did try out Mega Dragonite a little bit. Did you know Mega Dragonite actually gets weaker when it evolves, at least physically? Yeah, its physical attack goes down, actually. Its special attack goes way up, so it like changes its style. It goes from like a physical attacker to a special attacker, which I think is kind of cool because it like changes the gameplay style. Like, I already said that Mega Dragonite wasn't exactly my favorite in terms of design, but anything that can change up its like style, its like battle style, I think is at least interesting. If you can't be interesting design wise, be interesting gameplay wise. So that was kind of cool. What else? Excuse me, I gotta take a drink here. I gotta take a drink of my yappuccino. Throat's getting a little dry. Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about the character design. Character design in this game is amazing. I'm not going to talk about the story too much because spoilers. I thought the story was pretty good. Again, for Pokemon standards. I cared more about it than, Scarlet and Violet, because it was hard for me to care about the story of Scarlet and Violet because it just kept crashing on me and stuff. I was too annoyed with everything going on with Scarlet and Violet to really appreciate the story too much. That's why I don't think story is the most important in these kind of games, because if the gameplay is bad and everything like that, who cares how good the story is? If I'm not having fun playing it, I don't care what the story is. But I was having fun with this game, so I was a bit more engaged with the story. There's a lot of different characters, and, just stuff to keep it interesting. Oh, the side missions, they're a lot better than Legends Arceus. They're a lot more engaging, and there actually is reason to do them. In Legends Arceus, there was no real reason to do them, except that you wanted to. But here, you actually get rewards that you need. You'll get things like the trade items you need to get trade evolutions, and you'll even get Pokemon and stuff like that. And some of the missions will let you capture some of these elusive trade evolutions. Like one mission has you go into this apartment that's being overrun by a Gengar. Actually, there's two Gengar, I think, and a Haunter. And that's like your first opportunity to catch a Gengar. If you don't get it then, with that side mission, you have to wait until the post-game. So that's cool. Like, I actually wanted to do these missions, and that's something I could not say about Legends Arceus. I think one day I'll do a video comparing and contrasting the two Legends games, because right now, I can't really tell which one's better. I mean, I think, because, there's a lot of good stuff in this one. Like I said, the battle system's good. But I think the exploration in Legends Arceus was way better, because there were much bigger maps, and there was some variety, a lot more Pokemon, and stuff like that. So each one has their pros and cons and stuff. I guess it really does depend on your personal preference. Okay. So what else? Oh yeah, the Battle ZA Royal thing. Basically, at night, these zones open up, and you go and battle, and you earn money and stuff. And also, you can pick up these cards that have specific little missions that you can do, hit with fire moves or water moves or whatever. So that's a little thing to keep you going. You don't have to do them if you don't want to. I'll admit I usually ended up ignoring them because I wanted to focus on what I was doing, not what the cards wanted me to do. But it's nice. It's nice that they're there. I did them sometimes. One thing that's kind of weird is that the Pokemon's move sets have been altered a little bit. I know there were some moves that a Pokemon could learn, and in this game, for some reason, they just can't learn them. They're just not allowed to. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's weird. Almost every Pokemon can still learn Protect, but unlike in other games, not every Pokemon can, learn Double Team or Toxic, And I guess, I don't think Double Team might be a little overpowered, but it's no different than Protect in this game, really. It just lets you dodge and attack. Toxic, maybe a little bit, because you could just stall out the opposing Pokemon. But in this fast-paced game of real-time battling, it's really hard to stall, so I don't know how overpowered it would be. I didn't really use it that much. The only time I really used Poison is on Alpha Pokemon, because they're really bulky. So if you use Toxic and you just dodge their attacks and stuff, you can just watch their health just go away, That's the only time Poison is really, really good. So I use that to capture Alpha Pokemon. Speaking of catching Pokemon, I gotta say, I did a Pokeball tier list, and the repeat ball is really good in this game, because if you've already caught all the Pokemon, that's really good for shiny hunting and catching alphas of Pokemon you already have. Sure, it doesn't work with Pokemon that you haven't caught yet, but that's what the other balls are for. But repeat ball, I've used so much in this game, because you're supposed to catch Pokemon. That's how you get rewards. You get a lot of rewards through catching Pokemon. You get a lot of TMs and other stuff, and at the end, you get the shiny charm. You got to complete over 1,000 battles to do it, though. I still haven't gotten that. But, yeah. Speaking of which, shiny hunting apparently is really easy in this game. I actually did come across a few shinies in my first playthrough. I wasn't shiny hunting. They just showed up. And they had that little, notification, the shiny notification, as they say, when you get near one. Which is good, because I would have missed a lot of them, because they were, behind a building or something like that. So I wouldn't have even known that they were there. Not to mention, it wasn't in Scarlet and Violet, so at least they brought that back. That's good. So overall, I think Legends ZA is a really fun game. Like I said, the whole lackluster graphics, animation, and all that other stuff doesn't bother me as much as long as I'm having fun. They're still there. They didn't go away. Oh, speaking of graphics, one weird thing I found was that in Legends Arceus and even Scarlet and Violet, when it rains, things look wet. That doesn't happen in this game. It rains, but nothing changes in the environment. Nothing looks wet or anything. I thought it was like an illusion or something. I was like, is someone playing a trick on me? Apparently, though, it still does power up water type moves. And that's like the only weather in the game, so only water types have like any kind of field advantage. Once again, proving that water is the best type in the game. Don't at me. But yeah, a lot of people seem to be having fun with this. I mean, it's the typical thing, a lot of people complaining on one side, other people basically being like, I don't care, I'm having fun on the other side. And both sides aren't wrong, because they're right, You can have a lot of fun with it, but there is a lot of problems, It's like I said, as much as I crapped on Scarlet and Violet, I never said you can't have fun with it. I'm glad people are having fun with it. I just couldn't. And I cannot agree with people when they say it's a good game, because objectively, they're not. They have way too many problems for me to consider them a good game. But you can still have fun with them. You can enjoy them all you want. It's just that, there are obvious flaws. And there are obvious flaws here, but I still had a ton of fun, which is why I said it's hard to review Pokemon games that you like, because there's problems there, but you had fun with it. So does it really matter as much? Yes, I wish they would fix these problems. They should not have these problems, but, Game Freak and the Pokemon Company's modus operandi is to release these fast and quick, don't put a ton of money into them. I heard that someone from the Pokemon Company said it would only need to sell 200,000 copies to turn a profit. And it's like, it was going to sell way more than that, guys. Come on, put some money into these things, at least a little. It wouldn't hurt the fun factor, right? I don't know. At the very least, it would shut some people up. It's like, people say, oh, stop complaining about this stuff. It's like, yeah, we will when they fix it, If they just want people to stop complaining about it, they just need to fix it. Because these games are fun. Well, Scarlet and Violet wasn't, but the Legends games are fun. So, we'd have nothing to complain about if they would just fix these easily fixable issues. Anyway, I think all in all, I do think Legends Arceus is a very fun game. I think for the most part, especially after Scarlet and Violet, it is a good game, but it's dragged down by the typical Pokemon problems that all games has, and I can't just ignore that. I wish I could, because then I would say, yeah, this is a really, really good Pokemon game, but yeah, it still has all the same problems that you'd expect, but at the very least, it's fun. Just like with Legends Arceus, at least I had a very good time playing it, and I will continue to have fun playing it, and for the first time ever, I think I'm actually going to get the DLC, because I've never got the DLC for Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet, because I didn't think those games were worth any more money, and, I didn't like them that much, so I didn't buy the DLC. You didn't earn my money, unfortunately. But Legends ZA, you know what? I want that DLC now. I want more Legends Arceus. I do want more Legends Arceus, but we're not going to get that. But I want more Legends ZA. So, I don't know when that DLC comes out. I don't know what it's all about. We'll find out. Hopefully it'll be fun. Yeah, like I said, if it's more Legends ZA, I'm okay with it. So, let me know what you all think about Legends ZA in the comments, and I'll see you next time.